Fishing for bass in the fall. I got a lot of questions after yesterday's video. You can check it out on the crankbait for your river systems. But I got quite a few questions and messages about what if I reservoir fish or I lake fish in the fall and that body of water doesn't have crawl? What pattern should you look for in terms of a crankbait? Obviously, the simple answer is go ahead and match your hatch, right? That's the simple answer, okay? But one of the things I've noticed on a lot of highland reservoirs in western Maryland and reservoirs and lakes in Virginia is the bass in those lakes for some reason really like bright colors as opposed to a lot of some of the other eastern coastal lakes, reservoirs that I've fished in. And whereas here, you know, we've got a lake in basically central to western Maryland that morning dawn, anything plum, morning dawn color is just a magnet for fish. So you take that information, you want to apply it to your crankbaits in the fall because crankbaits are obviously one of the best top 5 baits you can utilize during fall fishing. And here's a coloration patterns and variations of I think you should consider. And the cool thing about these colors is you can have them custom done, okay? Which means you can set your depths that you want once you dial in a color. So look at this beauty right here. Look at the shades and colorations of this crankbait, okay? It's got a little bit of everything. And in the water, this crankbait absolutely pops. But you may say, you know, this is a 1.5, it's a shallow running square bill. What if they're suspended? What if they're off points? What if they're in deep? What if they're in 8 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet? You know, this is where custom bait makers fill the void, okay? Because a lot of times your mass-produced big box bait companies, they don't have the depth of colorations in the sizes. They have a shad pattern. They have a crawl pattern. Maybe they've got a bright red crawl pattern, okay, a perch pattern. Next time you're in a big box store, go down the crankbait aisle and just look at the colorations and see how a lot of them all are basically mirror because they make patterns that they hope will kind of fill nationally in all the stores and sell nationally. But your lake or reservoir or your river could be completely different. A lot of those baits may not be as effective. Will they catch bass? Sure, but they may not be as effective, okay, as patterns that you're going to notice from your shad, okay, and your herring, your blueback herring, all those colorations that are different, gizzard shad, Tennessee shad, all these shad variations are very different. Some are more prolific and you're going to be in your reservoir, in your lake, or in your river than in others. Okay, when you travel the country, you find this out. And so we've long believed there have been certain colors that just work everywhere. But it doesn't mean that you're not leaving something off the table by not really dialing it in. So what I find is when you can go and you can dial in during the spring, where are those fish going to be going during the fall and winter? Right? And so whereas you got caught on this coloration in the spring and early summer, post-spawn maybe, okay, when they were still up kind of and you were like, so then why wouldn't you translate that to 6 to 12 feet, 12 to 18 feet, 18 to 22 feet? Are they not going to be attracted to the coloration pattern and the action of this in deeper water? The big box store manufacturers seem to think that that's the case. Because if you go to the larger size format, okay, the diver crankbaits in different depths, the colors are different, right? But you got bit on this, and this is where it can come in where you can do the same coloration pattern and cover everything, okay? Because remember, at different times of the year, the bass are going to be reacting differently to different bait presentations, but they're still going to key on your coloration. So not only does this color work for the square bill, and this color work for a larger square bill, it also works for the diver, and it also works for your jerk bait. Remember, they're seeing the same colorations in their water throughout the whole cycle of the year, right? And so they're going to be tuned into those color features once you get that dialed in for your lake or reservoir. It's just a matter of moving that to a different presentation, utilizing that color in deeper water, maybe off points, maybe off secondary points, waiting for them to move up. Maybe they're starting to move up all the bait fish shallow to feed up in the fall. That's when you're going to be going, they may be out like they are right now in 12 to 14 feet of water in my lake, but in 2 or 3 weeks, they may be in 3 feet of water, okay? Shallow, in the back ends of creeks, if they've pushed all the bait fish and corralled them all up in there so they can feed off them for days at a time and keep pushing them, okay? And so this is just a trick for your crankbaits, okay? Once you find a style crankbait that you love, and it doesn't matter whether or not that crankbait is a custom crankbait or something right off the store shelf. If you like the action in it, okay, you can simply have that bait painted by a custom bait maker. Just send the bait to the bait maker, okay, and have him paint the pattern that you want on it and return it to you. And then you've got the action, the noise. This is a thump. This is a one thump. This is a, hear the difference? Hear that? Okay, why is that? Why do we want to thump in shallower water? And why do we want to rattle, okay, in deeper water? Because it all has to do with science, right? It has to do with how deep the water is, okay? The depth of your water and the clarity of your water, to be honest, is going to transfer that noise differently, okay? A thump works better than a rattle in shallower conditions, in my opinion. And then the rattler, okay, with a thump and a rattle, okay, in deeper water, has a differing effect in the deeper water, okay, in terms of how they hear it through the water. And you can see this a lot if you see science videos on different rattles with fish and how they react when they're 10 yards away, 15 yards away, 30 yards away, okay? It's the same kind of concept to smell when a fish can smell something in the water, okay? All their senses are heightened. So just a little trick that you can do is and you can buy, I mean, some manufacturers do. So if you're going to pick up a 1.5 in a pattern that you love, pick up a 2.5, pick up a bigger crankbait, pick up a diver crankbait, pick up the jerk bait in the same pattern, okay? And you'll watch your catch rates basically go seasonal with the same coloration patterns, okay? So just take that tip for you. If you have any questions, you can always comment. You can send me a message, JL Scott Fishing and Eats on Facebook, or you can send me a TikTok message. Or if you're just interested in getting some crankbaits painted up for you, shoot you in that direction as well. But just keep that in mind. Crankbaits in the fall, remember, they're going to start to move from 10 to 12 feet of water to 6 to 8 feet of water to 2 to 4 feet of water. So you want to make sure that you've got that different type crankbait in your box, in your boat, in your kayak, ready to go on that pattern that you've got dialed in, that you know that they're going to strike.